I also have several high-ranking black belts in the martial arts, one of which is a 10th degree black belt in Okinawan karate, a system that specializes specifically in manipulating the acupuncture points and meridians of the human body for not nice purposes. Okay? So there's a lot, right? But nobody wants to hear me. Anytime I start to talk about my syllabus, or my curriculum vitae rather, people either I'm the world's biggest liar, or I'm trying to compensate for something. I'll let you figure that one out for yourself. Today is about something that I had, when I first started in the martial arts, I thought about all these cool chi things and, Kung Fu theater and Dragon Ball Z and all these things. And then I got into my first martial arts thing, and my teacher basically, that's all bullshit. He would talk about it, but aside from breaking bricks, I'd never really, or lay on a bed of nails, which is basically physics, I'd really never seen much. So I started to kind of adopt the beliefs of my teacher that, maybe this is bullshit. And then one day I walked into a seminar. This is way back in the day. And it was a martial arts seminar on pressure points, how to manipulate acupuncture points and meridians for self-defense. It's actually an energetic martial arts aspect of acupuncture that was hidden in the traditional karate forms, but it was kept secret. It was held back. And if anybody ever tells you there are no secrets, they're full of shit. All right, they're either lying to you or they were just never taught, which is more often the case. Trust me, the vows of secrecy that were in place thousands of years ago are still in place today. Some of them are based on the system itself. Others are cultural. As politically incorrect as that is to talk about, there are certain places you won't get in the door just because of the color of your skin or where you were born. It shouldn't be that way. It sucks, but it's what it is, right? Here's what I tell all my students. You're never going to make the world the way you want it to be until you can accept it the way it is and deal with it the way it is. You have to start with a baseline and work towards that. Does that make sense? So I walked into this seminar, and I got there late. And I sit down, I got my notes, and there's this shadow looming over me. Big dude, right? And he falls out cold right next to me. And I'm like, what did I just walk into? And the guy teaching the seminar goes, you're fresh. He goes to me, do you mind if I dizzy you? And I'm like, I've been hit by the best. I've been kicked upside the head. I've been punched in the face, right? Sure. He goes, do you do forms? I go, yeah. You guys know what I mean when I say forms? These little dances that people learn, right? They're all coded. They're not what people think. It's really cool, but the forms are designed to preserve information as well as hide it. So if you don't understand the code that is involved, you just get this dance. It's kind of like singing a song in a foreign language. You can mimic it perfectly, but you don't know what the hell you're saying. That's what most people doing forms today are basically dealing with. Okay? Which is why most people moved away from forms, because the explanations that they were given for them were BS anyway. So he goes, do you mind if I dizzy you? And I'm like, okay. He goes, you do forms? I go, yeah. He goes, you do kata? I go, yeah. He goes, what's this move? I go, it's an X block. What's it for? He goes, someone's swinging at you and you're blind. He goes, next thing I know, two guys are picking me up. He knocked me out with my block. Because it's not a block. Turns out this point connects stomach 5. This point connects 3 gallbladder points on the head. And it causes a short circuit in the cranial nerves that meets in the brain and you go out. That's neuroscience. They're connected to the acupuncture points and meridians. It's all connected. The difference is, how many people here know the story of the Tower of Babel? Okay, so the Tower of Babel, in a Reader's Digest version, back thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, human beings all spoke one language, and they all worked together, and they created amazing things. And one day they got it in their head, hey, let's build a tower up to heaven and take over. And so they start building this tower. And God looks down, says, so you think you're coming up here, huh? He waves his magic hand, and all of a sudden, everybody's speaking a different language. Nobody understands anyone. And before you know it, they're suspicious, they're misunderstanding, and everything crumbles. Because nobody understood. What we want to do is get a common language. A language that everyone understands, but even more importantly, that every part of you understands. You see, that's why energy healing takes a long time. It's why the results don't always last. Because the parts of you that need to communicate and work together aren't. Okay? Famous hypnotist by the name of Milton Erickson once said, your clients will be your clients because they're out of rapport with their subconscious mind. Anybody ever read that? Okay. So let's start unpacking that. What's the biggest part of your unconscious mind? Anybody know? Oh shit, he's asking questions. By the way, this is a highly participatory seminar, right? The more you get up off your butt and actually do the drills, the more powerful it's going to be for you. Okay? The most powerful part, the largest part of your unconscious mind is your body. But when we hypnotize people, what's the average position of the subject in the chair? It looks something like this. We leave the largest part of the subconscious mind relatively untouched. So you have an autonomic division to your nervous system. You have proprioceptive divisions to your nervous system. You have your central nervous system, which is your brain and spinal cord. These all make sense? You all been to anatomy class, right? Here's the problem. They don't all speak the same language. And they're not fully connected to all the different parts of you. You know the signs out there say if you can point to where you feel it, you can change it? Literally true. Okay, let's just get to basics. I want everybody to stand up. Because it's after lunch, and if I keep talking, you're going to go into a food coma. So the first thing we're going to talk about is interoception and exteroception. For those of you who don't know all these ceptions, interoception is what's going on inside your body and the ability to monitor and feel that. Exteroception is what's going on outside of your body. So one of the first things we want to learn to do is connect the inside to the outside. So we're going to play some games. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, I want you to close your eyes for me. And I want you to remember a time in your life when you felt the most amazing, thrilling, fulfilling, satisfying pleasure ever. Now, I'm not the pleasure police. I'm not going to ask, not that one. No, I'm teasing. I don't care who you were with, what substances were involved, how many state lines you crossed. I don't care. All I care about is that when you remember that moment, when you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there's an amazing, wonderful feeling that you get. A feeling of absolute pleasure. I'd like you to notice there's a place in your body where those amazing, wonderful feelings start, where they grow, where they spread from. Take a moment, point to where you feel it. Excellent. I'd like you to notice, look at it with your inner eyes. Notice there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. I'm curious, I'm wondering what color or colors that might be for you. First impression, whatever it is, imagine a beautiful ball of that energy floating above your head. Notice how the feelings in your body shift and changes with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That amazing ball of energy is going to begin to grow. It's going to begin to expand. It's going to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of pleasure. A cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating you, protecting you from all downers, all bummers, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants, everything it most needs, in an infinite, ever-expanding and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, breathe those amazing colors through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely, no force in the universe can turn it off or take it away. Not even you. And when you realize it's true, test it. Try to turn it off. Try to make it go away. Try to imagine some other motherfucker making that go away. And notice what happens instead. And when you're satisfied, stop testing, open your eyes, notice how good you feel. What just happened? We got some happy motherfuckers in here, don't we? All right. We just talked, I actually skipped a lesson. The thing that connects mind and body is breath. Psyche and soma are connected by pneuma. Body, mind connected by breath. Okay? Now close your eyes. Breathe that color through your entire being once again. Notice what happens now. Now I'd like you to notice that there's a place in your body either where that feeling starts and grows from, like before, or it's strongest, or both. Point to where you feel it. Now here's where it gets really cool. If there were a picture floating in the space around you that represented that amazing feeling, a picture that you could reach out and touch, where would you reach out to touch it? Go ahead, take your other, that's right. Now let's make sure we got the right one. Trace the outline of that picture with both of your hands so you know how big it is. Now make the picture bigger, like you'd expand the windows on your iPhone. Notice what happens to the feeling in your body. Does it get stronger, does it get weaker? Whichever one you do is perfectly okay. It's no right or wrong. Now bring it back to its original size. Now I want you to slowly keep the size exactly the same. Slowly pull the picture closer to your body. Does the feeling get stronger or weaker? Lift it up over your head. Pull it down around you like a big blanket. The more you get your body involved, the better this works. That's right. See a lot of happy faces now. Now, here's what I want you to do. You can have this feeling back in whatever way you want for just a moment, but for the sake of our joy, I want you to unwrap that feeling, lift it back up over your head. Now, y'all know what a frisbee is. I want you to go ahead and take that frisbee, throw it all the way behind you, till it disappears behind the horizon completely. When you know it's gone, scan your body. Notice what happened to the feeling. What do you notice? Okay, now imagine your hands are the world's strongest frisbee magnets. Suck that frisbee right back into your hands. As you hold it up there, I'm going to tell you one of the most important things you're going to learn this entire conference. Inside your mind, body, and soul, you are the god or goddess of your universe. You are the king or queen of your universe. You have every right, permission, and authority to make any change that you want for any reason that you want. I want you to play with that power right now. I want you to take this picture, this feeling that you're holding, and I want you to play with it. I want you to make it bigger, make it smaller, move it up, move it down, move it in your body, move it out. Notice how every time you move that picture around or you change the size and location, the feelings and the quality of those feelings change as well. And I want you to keep playing with it. I want you to keep playing with it until you find the exact size, shape, and location that gives you the exact feeling that you want to have at the exact intensity level that you want to have it. When you find that sweet spot, I want you to fix it into place. Notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as the energy of that picture flows into your body, from your body to your heart, from your heart to your bloodstream, and from your bloodstream, every place your blood flows, those feelings go, into every nerve, and every cell, and every atom, into the very DNA of those cells, reprogramming, transforming, turning each and every cell of your body into a powerful, perpetual pleasure factory. Each cell of your body generating more and more and more of those amazing feelings in an infinite, ever-expanding, and unlimited supply. There's no need to measure it, manage it, or make it happen faster. Just notice that process taking place. Allow it to install itself completely. And when you know it's done, it's locked in, test it. Try to bring the old feeling back. Try to turn the new feelings off. And notice what happens instead. That's right. When you're happy, when you're satisfied, stop testing, open your eyes, look up here. Was that cool? Give yourselves a big round of applause. All right, have a seat. What you've just experienced is what we've come to call the proprioceptive grid. Now, NLP was the first to discover this aspect of it oh so many years ago, but it didn't go far enough. You see, back in the time when NLP was incepted, it was believed that the things you were just playing with were nothing but hallucinations, that they were just something you made up, which was true enough to be true, except that the universal language of all beings is metaphor. All you are, if you reference quantum physics, is light. Different frequencies of light interacting and communicating. Some parts of that light are transducing to higher frequencies. Some of those light-based frequencies are going down. They're becoming denser. So how do we make that functional? First and foremost, you guys remember the song we danced to at the beginning of the class? Do you know why we do that? Anybody? If you haven't, I know you know. The reason that we do that is to remind us, A, get your body involved, but there's a deeper one. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Every behavior we generate is in response to a feeling, either to move away from it or towards it, and that's how it works. But there's more to it. You see, we talk about vibration this, and we talk about vibration that, and we understand it theoretically. We understand it somewhat, depending on what we do, maybe a little bit experientially. But how do we play with vibration and frequency in the body? Feelings. All vibrational frequencies that enter the body create a sensation. They create a feeling. We talk about law of attraction and manifestation. We talk about you will attract into your life the qualities, or the situations, events, and circumstances and people that are in harmony with what? Your dominant thoughts. True, not true? And so we spend time doing all these affirmations and all these vision boards and everything, right? What if it was something else? What if it wasn't the pictures? What if it wasn't the affirmations? What if it was the feeling that comes from it? Might want to turn the phones off or put them in airplane mode. The vibrational signature that you send out to the universe is analogous to the current default body state you have. In other words, if I'm walking around in a happy, playful, curious state, well, that's what is obvious to me. There's a lot of other little sub-frequencies in there that go out as well. Part of your job is to clean up those garbage frequencies so you have a pure signal. Does that make sense? So the first thing I'm going to teach you is dominant thought versus non-dominant thought. How many people here have ever done affirmations? Yeah. Okay, so this is always fun for me. How many people don't usually start doing affirmations till they're in a shitty mood? I'm going to suggest that might not be the optimum way to approach your affirmations. Okay? We're going to talk about this a lot more tomorrow morning. I think it's tomorrow morning when we do Hidden Laws of Attraction, the crash course. But I'm going to give you a little thing. I want you to think of an affirmation and just make one up, right? But it's something you want, but you don't have it yet. And I want you to just say it to yourself real quick. Just say it to yourself real quick. Okay. When you've done that, just raise your hand so you've done it. All right, now, what happened in your body when you gave yourself that affirmation? You felt it? How many felt a good feeling? Perfect. How many felt a really obvious good feeling? And in the background there was this little nagging, icky feeling that you were trying to ignore. Congratulations, you just found your dominant thought. 6 things I want you to remember right now, and then I'll explain this for you. When you're dialoguing with the unconscious mind, you have to understand these. How many people would like to eliminate almost all resistance to their therapy sessions? Okay. If you teach your clients the 6 things I'm about to share with you, you will eliminate 99% of all resistance in it from a client. If you internalize these 6 principles, when you go to work on yourself, you will get success much faster. Remember I said at the beginning of our training, you have an autonomic nervous system, you have a proprioceptive nervous system, you have a cerebral, a brain and spinal cord. All of these systems are supposed to intercommunicate, but they don't all speak the same language. Your autonomic nervous system doesn't speak English. It doesn't speak French. It doesn't speak German, Hebrew, ancient Greek. Your autonomic nervous system communicates in sensations. Sensations and imagery. And it's important to understand this because you have a 2-year-old whose job it is to take those feelings and those images and make a story out of them that may have nothing to do with what they actually mean. You understand that? Here's the problem. We spend so much time in this part of our mind that we relate to everything through those filters. So when information comes up from the autonomic nervous system, we assume that what the neocortex is telling us it means is true. Now, better than 50% of the time it is not. You all know this. You're hypnotists, right? There's the presenting problem, the thing they came in the door for, and then there's the real fucking reason they're there, right? That they don't know they didn't know. Well, it's the same thing when you're not in trance. Of course, you're never not in trance, which is the problem. So what we're going to talk about really, really quickly, and then we're going to close the loop on the feeling thing. Oh, that's the transformation. Those are the techniques you're going to be learning. Where's my 6 dynamics? There we go. if you want to take these home, by the way, Richard has them on business card. Oh, I got a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to do this one section, then we're going to do some more administrative stuff. Like, how many people would like a copy of my notes? Yes. Okay. You notice there's a little packs of mints on your chair there with a QR code on it. If you scan that code before you leave and type your name and email, each and every one of you will receive in the mail a copy of this presentation. Or actually, you'll receive actually more than what's in the presentation, because there's a lot here. But this is where we want to start. Again, more administrative stuff. Keep opening all these loops. Remind me to talk about this when I'm done. Your unconscious mind always answers first. It always answers honestly. It always feels like you're making it up. You always have an urge to edit what just came up. I know. I know. It's never loud. You ever hear the expression, the conscious mind shouts, the unconscious mind whispers? When you did your affirmation, you had that obvious good feeling because you were saying something you wanted to have, right? But in the background, there was that little icky, naggy sensation, right? That's your dominant thought. You became subtly aware of it because the information you were trying to install was in conflict with it. You provoked it. Provocation is one of the most powerful therapeutic tools we have, especially when we do it to ourselves. All right? The unconscious mind always answers first, many times non-verbally. This is why I do not teach my students to use scripts, ever. Because all the information you need is going to come from the client. And where attention flows, energy goes. Where attention goes, energy flows. So the more attention I'm paying to my client, the more of my energy is interacting with all the different divisions of their nervous system. Their proprioception, their interoception, their mirror neurons, their cardiac nervous system. All of these things integrate to create our subjective internal experience, which is vibrational data in the form of a metaphor. So when I have you remember a time in your life when you felt X, and all of a sudden there's a color connected to that feeling, it's a metaphor, but it's a metaphor that represents that vibrational frequency. You get it? I just did. Oh, were you here when we did the pleasure game? That's what it was, right? We're going to do a lot more of it, right? But this is what I want you, when you start doing this work on yourself, remember, when you ask your unconscious mind a question, pay attention to what pops up first. Okay? Whatever comes up for it, no matter how nonsensical, nonlinear, irrelevant, that's what the answer is. It always answers honestly. Your neurology always gives you what it believes to be true. And as far as your neurology is concerned, that's all that matters. There was a guy by the name of Dr. Eric Knowles. He did a book called Resistance and Persuasion. And one of the studies he found out about the brain was the brain doesn't care about true or false. It cares about plausibility. If something is true, but the brain conceives it as implausible, the neurology says, no, it's not true. But if something is patently not true, but it could be plausible, it'll accept it. In hypnotic languaging, we have this thing called a cause and effect statement. Cause and effect statement hacks into that phenomena. If you talk to somebody using proper cause and effect language, the neurology automatically encodes it and responds to it like it's true. And if you really understand it, you can make anything you want seem to cause anything you want in the mind of the listener, even if those things have absolutely nothing in common, nothing to do with each other. There doesn't have to be any actual connection between those two things at all. If you use a cause and effect statement properly, the brain just welds them together and it's true. Would that be useful? Yeah. Come to my language classes. I'll teach you all about that shit. All right. Always answers honestly. Always feels like you make it up. This is, again, how many of you, you've all had this experience? Well, something came up, but I just think I was just imagining it. Right? This is where what comes up from the autonomic nervous system meets the neocortex. Right? Remember, the part of you that controls all of your energy fields, the part of you that controls your long-term memory, that controls your immune system, that controls all of your emotions, is also the part that makes shit up. Of course it's going to feel like you made it up. Okay? You always have an urge to edit what just came up. You've all had that can't be right moment. You've had clients who've done that. The moment that you have that moment, stop. Realize the first four and go back to surrendering to the process. Okay? Never loud, never linear. The reason these icky feelings that I say are your dominant thoughts aren't because they're weak. It's because they're deep. They're deep in the tissues. They're deep in the autonomic nervous system. They're little, think of it, the best metaphor I've come up with for people to use is, you guys don't know what an antivirus is, right? You know how sometimes when your system's scanning your computer, it comes across a file it can't delete? Anybody ever have that happen? What does it do with it? Quarantines it, right? It takes it and puts a little space on the hard drive where it can't hurt anything, but you don't have the software to get rid of it yet. Then the next upgrade comes in, and now you can get rid of it. You had it first. How many people have here ever done a liver detox? Liver detox. All right. So do you know what your body does with toxins it can't metabolize? It wraps them in fat and stores them in your body. Does that sound familiar? Emotion I can't metabolize? Wrap it up, put it somewhere in the body. Toxin I can't metabolize? Wrap it, put it somewhere in the body. As above, so below. One of the coolest things about the neurology is if you start from the autonomic nervous system and work up, you can find God in a consistent, reliable, repeatable way. If you start up here and try to make it work down here, you're going to be chasing your tail. So we start with the autonomic nervous system. What is the autonomic nervous system actually? How does it do all this? Or, and not in terms of like chemicals and shit like that. That's what's the code it's using? How does it take this energetic phenomena and pull the information out of it and create a process? Because that's what it's doing. All these vibrational fields are like DVDs that have information encoded in them. Your autonomic nervous system is uniquely designed to decode and express that information. That's why when you look at this little diagram up here, I'm giving you way too much theory. It kind of looks like an egg-shaped DVD, doesn't it? This is my interpretation. We're going to unpack this model. But I want you to have these 6 dynamics of an unconscious response. Now, when you take this back to your clients, Teach this to them first. Before you put them in trance, sometimes even, think about, you can test this, before you even do any suggestibility games or whatever, teach them the 6 dynamics of an unconscious response. Okay? I've totally given up doing any form of hypnosis pre-talk. Because in my opinion, my experience, it actually primes the client to be more resistant. Because your client may have come in with only 1 or 2 myths they have, then you start going through the entire laundry list, and now all of a sudden you've actually given them suggestions. Right? Now, notice I said teach this to them before you put them in trance or do suggestibility tests. Why? Because if you try to explain this to them after, and they've had any of those experiences, they think you're trying to protect your session. They think you're trying to save face. But if you teach it to them before they go in, the moment they've had those experiences, it ratifies the experience in their world, and it paints you as the authority. And they know what to do next. You get it? Okay? It seems like a big, not a big, it's a big deal. Here's another Davidism I want you to internalize. The nervous system of the human body never rejects itself. The nervous system of the human body never rejects or resists itself. What the human nervous system creates, the human nervous system accepts. Your system is uniquely designed to take energetic frequencies and step them up and step them down. Okay? You just haven't been able to unpack them until now. Okay? So the fastest way to get somebody, notice when you all pointed to where you feel it, reached out and touched the picture, there was a color. But I guarantee her color was different than your color, which was different than his. That's what's more important. Because when you study these energy healing systems, depending on the culture, there's going to be different colors for different things. That's made up. All systems are generalizations that worked for somebody. And if you train long enough with them, they'll eventually become yours. But the most powerful colors, sounds, smells, tastes, correspondences you can generate are the ones you come up with. That will always have, it's the difference between a transplanted kidney and a cloned one. Which has a higher chance of being accepted? Damn Skippy. Clone your energy. Design it, create it, install it. Okay? How do we do that? Point to where you feel it. Whatever it is you want, you point to where you feel it, reach out and touch it. So let's all play with it. Everybody stand up. I want you to close your eyes, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to think of something that's got a shittiness level about 1, 2, or 3. Now, I know half you're going to go for Godzilla, right? I'll explain why that's a bad idea when you're working on yourself. When you start doing partner work, you can go after Godzilla. But when you're willing to train this for yourself, start with the little ones, and I'll explain why that is. Point to where you feel it in your body. Now, if there were a picture floating in the space around you, a picture you could reach out and touch, where would you reach out to touch that picture? First impression. Excellent. Trace the outline of it with both of your hands so you know how big it is. Now let's make sure we've got the right one. Reach up, grab that picture with both of your hands. Without slugging the person next to you, make it bigger. Notice what happens to the feelings in your body. Does it get stronger? Does it get weaker? If it gets weaker when you make the picture bigger, just make it smaller. It doesn't really matter which one you do. It just matters that you know. Make sense? Put it back to its original size. Slowly pull it closer to your body. Does the feeling get stronger or weaker? Now, one of the things, all right, now put it back. Excellent. Now use your imagination. I want you to put a big, thick black frame around that picture. The bigger and thicker and blacker, the better. Now, most of you are probably too young to remember when televisions had real dials and knobs and switches instead of touch screens and remote controls. But I want you to feel along the base of that frame. You're going to feel some dials and knobs and switches like on an old-style television or remote control. I want you to find the contrast knob or the brightness knob. Turn that knob all the way to the right until the image whites out completely, and notice how that makes you feel. Turn the knob all the way to the left until the image blacks out completely. Notice how that makes you feel. Decide for yourself which one you like better. Excellent. Now I want you to take the index finger of your dominant hand, And on that whited out or blacked out screen, in glowing golden letters or whatever other color makes you happy, I want you to write the lessons that this experience had to teach you, positive or negative, so you can keep all the lessons and let everything else go. Now, some people know exactly what those lessons are, and bam, they put it on the screen like it's nobody's business. Some people have no conscious idea what those lessons are, but the part of you that created this feeling in the first place, it knows. So let it do the writing. Write on that screen everything that this experience had to teach you, positive or negative. If a bad feeling comes up or a crappy feeling comes up, put that on the screen too. Keep writing. Until all the lessons are retained and everything else has been let go. Now, some people draw squiggles. Some people draw pictures. Every now and then you get someone who's really reactant. They write, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, across the screen. Every now and then some people write with both hands simultaneously, like they're writing Chinese or Hebrew at the same time. However your body wants to do it, just let it go. Let it happen. As the feelings come up, they come out, put them on the screen. When you know, and only when you know they're completely done, do this next part. Now, my wife, when she does this, she writes War and Peace. She writes for 40 minutes at a time. The screen will scroll like a tablet so you have an infinite writing space. When you know it's done, reach up, shrink that picture down to the size of a postage stamp or even smaller, and notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. That frame, that small size frame moves up over the top of your head, back beyond the horizon, and it disappears beyond the horizon completely. And you all know the sound a hammer makes when you're banging on a nail. Feel it nailed back there for all eternity, impossible to come back. And when you know it's nailed back there for all eternity, impossible to come back, test it. Try to bring it back and notice what happens instead. And when you're done testing, stop, notice how good you feel. Open your eyes. What'd you notice? What happened to it? It's gone? Raise your hand if it's gone. Excellent. How many of it just diminished? One or two? Okay, good. You need to write more. So, have a seat. What you just did was called magic frame. One of the problems that you're going to have is that you have different layers to each energetic or vibrational container that you store in your body. You have the substance itself, you have the channels, and then you have sub-distinctions, and then that all comes together to form the story of what happened. As hypnotists, we deal with the story, the event content. We don't if you're a neurolinguistic programmer, you start asking, okay, is it in color, black and white? Is it moving or still? Is there sound, right? You all know those distinctions, right? If you're an energy healer or like a holographic memory resolution practitioner, you deal with just blanking the DVD. You're going to learn all three. That's how you get fast change work, because you integrate all of them. Okay? So magic frame works by pointing to where you feel it, reaching out and touching it. This creates a link through your nervous system between the outside of your body, the proprioceptive field. How many people are familiar with heartmath.org? Okay? You all know that your heart radiates an electromagnetic field that can be measured with instruments up to 8 feet in diameter from the body. This is science now. Embedded and impregnated within that field is emotional information that is picked up either by a person's heart or the hemispheres of their brain. Those systems synchronize and the information is reproduced in the other person. They've done this with dogs, they've done this with horses. Okay? So, when we think about the proprioceptive field that you've just been playing with, I want you to think of that heart system, your mirror neurons, your proprioceptive awareness, right, and your interoceptive. So when I say proprioception is this long, drawn-out word that just means time and space. If such a thing as your sixth sense actually existed, it would be your proprioceptive nervous system. But it wouldn't be your sixth sense. It would be your sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and 11th senses. Because as far as science can tell, there's about 5 to 7 different channels of information that your proprioceptive neurology monitors, one of which is electromagnetic fields. Okay? How many noticed when you made the picture bigger, the feelings got more intense? Excellent. How many of you noticed when you made the picture smaller, the feelings got more intense? By the way, this means I know the answer. This means I don't. This means, oh shit, I hope he doesn't call on me next. All right? All right. So, how many noticed no change at all? Oh, okay. Good. Because if you didn't, I was going to show you how to fix it. But I'll save that for later then. All right. So this is called magic frame. Why do we want to do this first? If we look at the transformational triad, magic frame's at the top. Why? Because every time you have an experience, your neurology begins to assign meanings and lessons to it. Your neurology's primary job is to protect you, and it doesn't need your permission to do that. How many people here have ever had a client that says, you know, I've been in 3 different relationships and they all ended, now I just can't seem to get back in the game. I just can't, I just stop myself, right? Okay? How many of you have ever had someone, I've had 3 businesses, they were successful, I lost them, and now I know what to do, I know how to do it, I know when, and I just can't seem to get going. Congratulations, you just hit a safety lesson. How many people here have ever worked with somebody that went through a car accident and the MRI says they're fine, the x-rays say they're fine, and yet they have limited range of motion? Congratulations, you just hit a safety lesson. You see, your neurology, if the event is traumatic enough or it happens too many times, your neurology says, wow, holy cow, my job is to protect this person. But every time they've started a business, they've lost it, and it almost killed him. I got to protect him from this. How am I going to do? I know. If he never has another business, he can never lose it. Unconscious mind flips a switch. He knows what to do, he knows when to do, he knows who to do, he can't get out of the gate. Safety lesson. How do you know if it's a safety lesson? Well, here's the basic idea. If you do an intervention on somebody, maybe say it's at an 8 or 9 or 10, and it starts there, and then you do your intervention and it drops, and then it reaches a point where it just stops getting better, safety lesson. If you do an intervention on somebody and it goes away and comes back, safety lesson. Hit it with the frame. The frame is designed to install into your nervous system the understanding that those lessons have been learned and retained. The metaphor I like to use is, how many people here have ever made soup? You ever try to unmake soup? Right? You put all the ingredients in and you cook it, and now I got to pick shit out, right? That's almost how it works functionally when your neurology creates a safety lesson around something. When you look at that little oval diagram, that's a static representation of something that's in constant motion and different and interacting. It's like reaching in and finding the soup and finding the piece of the soup. Your neurology doesn't have many times a real good way to remove some of that shit. It's frozen, it's stuck. You understand? Vibrationally, it's stuck. When you point to where you feel it and reach out and touch it, you connect the interoception systems of your body to the outer systems of your body. Because you're using both hands, you're now connecting the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. You're using your eyes. Even though your eyes are closed a lot of times, you're accessing the visual cortex, which has the most brain real estate of any part of your body, except, well, the only thing that comes close to it is your hands. Get it? I'm lighting you up like a Christmas tree. Okay? Now we talk about bypassing the critical faculty. Well, when I'm turning the knob all the way to the right and all the way to the left, and I'm evaluating, what part of my brain is that? It's the critical faculty. I'm not bypassing it, I'm integrating it. That's what Richard Bandler used to call superior thinking. The ability to examine the structure of a thought and its content and the effect that it's having and make it change. So we're lighting all of you up, and everything that you do is vibrational, but it's being interpreted by your system in the form of a metaphor. But your body doesn't know the difference between something you're physically manipulating out here and something like this, because as far as it's concerned, it's all the same. It's energy. Yes, Kelly? Hold on. Hold on a second. I guess I need my mic runner now. Yes.
So when you ask them to point to to it,
Mhm.
and they either can't find it or they're unsure. Does it matter?
First impression. Pretend you know.
And
It'll always
that's
work.
Just okay.
Because the part of you, here's one of the things you understand. If you don't have a feeling, by definition, you don't have a problem. Helpful hint. Numbness is also a feeling. Point to where you don't feel it. Now, first impression. The nervous system can't not answer you. I teach my students this. Isn't something you learn if you come like Identity by Design or some of the other trainings. The answer is always in the question. There's this thing we have called the somatic search engine. Your neurology is neurologically, pathologically driven to answer any question you give it, regardless of how badly formed the question is. You can pass the microphone to Faye. Is this making sense? Check. Check. Uh-huh. Yeah. Faye's right here.
Okay, some people come into this world with a very sensitive, hyperactive
Yep.
central nervous system.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what do we do for those people?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. I have so many things, but it starts with, what do you want instead? That is one of the most powerful questions you can ask any nervous system ever. What do you want instead? That brings us to color breathing. Remember, this is important. What the nervous system creates, the nervous system accepts.
Can I ask, did you say what you want instead,
Mhm.
or what did you want state?
What do you want instead?
That's all right, 'cause I was saying, I don't know what state is.
Yeah. Instead is one of the most powerful words you can use with another human being, even yourself. Would you like to know why? I'll tell you tomorrow. We come out of trance, motherfuckers. Jesus. Don't make me do the raspberry drill on you guys. All right. Why? What's so powerful about instead? Instead allows the nervous system to generate any other possibility but the original one. Try to argue with that and notice what happens instead. Yes, Faye. Give her the microphone.
So,
Is that on?
okay, can you hear now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you do have these, everything is a gift, but also has its disadvantages. So I guess maybe I'm being too specific, but it's like, is there a way to establish, like I guess what you're going to do with the color breed, that you can still have some of the advantages?
I think I'm about to answer your question. Just hold that for a second.
Great.
One of the things you will discover, if you haven't already, is that whenever you successfully do an intervention on somebody, they always spontaneously reframe the experience. You ever notice that? They can't go back to thinking about that thing the same way anymore. Now, many times that's a spontaneous reframe, but a lot of times our techniques actually go for that. True or not true? So when you start to process something with one of these techniques or all of these techniques, you'll know you're done when they can't get the feelings back, and or they can't think about it the same way anymore. The emotional charge is gone, and they have this spontaneous epiphany about it. Okay? This is something I've watched over and over and over again, is that when people have their resolution moment, they're thinking about the whole event changes. The memory, the story, the energetic charge connected to it is just gone. It's flat. And all of a sudden, they become, a lot of times, they become grateful for the experience because they learned something. But the lesson is hidden behind the emotion. The emotional charge keeps the neurology from fully processing the data, and so they can't get to it. These are thawing those energetic packets so the neurology can now access the data and process it. You're walking around in a holographic information processing system. You are light. How many people have been in my face reading class? Okay? How many people have heard me say that when you unpack a marking on the face, the marking goes away? I was like, what the fuck did he just say? Yeah. Right? If not, I'm doing a face reading class Sunday morning. Come in, you may be able to experience that. You are nothing but refracted light. So when your vibrational density changes, the angle of refraction of those light waves and particles changes, and you look different. I've seen people literally grow a brow bone in 20 minutes. Like they come in, they live this whole life being downtrodden, put down by their family, their power's been taken away. You resolve all that, you get all of a sudden, poof, instant Frankenbrow. It's crazy. First time my teacher Lillian told me that, I was in the back of the room, you heard this bullshit. Because I test everything. I don't have time for low percentage technique, which is often why I'm kind of a little bit standoffish with other energy healers. Because the more energy healers I talk to, the more I realize nobody knows what the fuck each other's talking about. They don't, right? The two cleanest, distinct vibrational matrices with two aspects, quality and quantity. The Rosicrucians, the radiesthesiologists had it right. You can measure energy by the qualities it represents, or the qualities it expresses, and the amount of it. That's your vibrational qualities and quantities. That's all you need to know about energy. And it's infinitely programmable and reprogrammable. But the way it expresses itself is through body feelings first, and then all the other sensory modalities interpret the data, and now you have this map of the world that we call reality, which is really just a metaphor. You don't exist in real time. For those of you who want to do the science or the research on that, get the book, How Emotions Are Made, by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. How Emotions Are Made. It's a theory of constructed emotions by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. Brilliant book. Combine that with Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score, and now you've got what we're really doing to ourselves. Okay? Chinese mapped all this out thousands of years ago, but they used different languaging and a different model to describe it. Color breathing is where we take a vibrational frequency that is a problem, and we ask the nervous system, what will fix this? What will fix this? The engine behind this is called resolution frequency generator. That's the name of the technique. It's the engine of transformation. Remember that everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's a feeling they want more of, or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. But the layers of your brain can take any feeling and turn it into a color. It can take any color, turn it into a sound. It can take any sound and turn it into a smell or a taste. And you can go back, NLP mapped this out. They called it crossover, or mapping across. And they thought of it as a hallucination. No, it's vibrational data. Okay? Now, why is this important for you traumatologists? How many people here have read Basil's book? All right, so you guys remember, for those of you who haven't, if you're doing trauma work, you probably need to really read that. In that book, Dr. van der Kolk talks about a condition known as alexithymia. Alexithymia is an inability to name a feeling or a set of feelings. Here's the rub. If your neurology can't name it, it can't process it. So you just turn it into a color, and it'll process it like gangbusters. Different cortex of the brain. The data, it's the same vibration, same information, but it's expressed differently now. Point to where you feel it. What's the color, first impression? Oh, it's black. Oh, if your higher mind, your guardian angels, God, your autonomic nervous system could send you a feeling, a frequency, a vibration, a color that would completely dissolve the XYZ color in your XYZ part of your body. I'm curious, I'm wondering, what color or colors might it send you? First impression. Color pops up. Colors just popped up, didn't it? In your head. Your neurology can't not do that. Now take that color, breathe that color through the area where the nasty color is, and notice what happens. What happened to the feeling? Is it better or worse? Better. What? You mean you just cleared shit in like what? How fast was that? 20 seconds? Is it really that easy? Yeah. Because everything you're experiencing, you created. What you created, you can change. You use a color to dissolve a color. Now, in my regression skills training, there's 7 layers to this. The nice thing about what we call holonomic regression is, you don't need to cycle them through the trauma a gazillion times. They don't need to be classically hypnotizable. You can stop halfway through the process, have a conversation, pick up where you left off, and completely resolve it. And you can get the same level of resolution that you would from classical regression. Right? Now this is still this is baby step for us, but how fast was that? Does it really matter how intense the issue is? No, not really. But we start with the small stuff for training. Why? Because your nervous system has a negativity bias. Your nervous system is designed, and the book that you want to research for this is called The Power of Bad. The Power of Bad. And it's by the guy who created willpower, Baumeister, Roy Baumeister. Your nervous system, one bad thing happens, your nervous system assigns a gravity of 4 to it. One good thing happens, your nervous system assigns a gravity of 1. It's a suck ratio, but it's one you can work with. Now, I tested this in a very interesting way. You guys don't know I have a YouTube channel, right? Yeah. Okay, so you know that when you're on social media and on YouTube, whenever you post something, everybody loves it. They never leave a bad comment. They never flame you. Never tell you you're full of shit. If you were a serious practitioner, you wouldn't be wearing stupid vests. Right? So I decided to test this. I said, well, okay, I get lots of shit on my channel all the time. So let me go read a few. I read one negative comment and noticed where I felt the bad feeling. And then I counted how many positive comments did I have to read before I started feeling better. About 3 or 4. Say, oh. Now here's the suck part about that. It's a ratio that you can work with, and that's pretty reliable. But for every bad thing that happens, you need 4 good things just to get to 0. So we have to train. How do we do that? Well, this is how you start. You can do all of these on yourself. You can do all these. You just did, actually. If you think about it, right? So, resolution frequency generator is a way to take the energetic expression of the memory and the traumatic event, turn it into and it doesn't have to be a color. No. If you're somebody who thinks they're aphantasia and you can't turn it into a sound, turn it into a smell. My observation of aphantasics is that they actually do see stuff. They're just not conscious of it. They can't consciously access of it. But you ask an aphantasic to describe stuff and say, well, watch their hands. You ever notice when people talk about their shit, they move their hands? I got this problem. If I could just get past it, life would be good. I just could figure out where it is and what it is. You laugh. Watch people. When you get really strong rapport with people and you see them do this, you can literally walk up into their proprioceptive grid, take it, let's just put this back here and tell me how that feels. It just happened. It's pretty good. Right? Why? Resonance. Okay? Color breathing is, here's my problem, first level. Here's my problem. What do I want instead? What might that be like? What might that be like? Okay? So think of something on a scale of 1 to 3 that you want to change. Close your eyes. Go ahead. Don't be bashful. Something you want to change. Point to where you feel it. Point to where you feel it. You're all like, I'm writing. Stop. Shut up. Point to where you feel it. Notice there's a color connected to that feeling. Just know for yourself what color or colors it is for you. And now, ask yourself the magic question. What do I want instead? What do I want instead? First impression. Once you know what it is you want instead, ask yourself, what might that be like? I call this your Steven Spielberg moment. I want you to make an alternate reality movie where you have exactly what you want instead. And I want you to make it awesome. I want you to make it big as a drive-in movie theater screen. Crystal clear like an IMAX. Turn up the sounds, the smells, the tastes, the feelings. Best experience ever. And when it's perfect in every way, I want you to watch it over and over and over again. Not once, not twice, but hundreds and thousands of times at the speed of thought. With each repetition, I want you to make it 10 times better, 100 times more powerful, 1,000 times more thrilling, fulfilling, and satisfying than ever before, until it overwrites and replaces every experience you've ever had before, and then it just keeps getting better. I'd like you to notice that there's a place in your body where those amazing feelings start, where they grow, where they spread from. Take a moment. Point to where you feel it. Notice there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. What color or colors might that be for you, first impression? Whatever they are, I want you to notice as you watch that movie, step into it and live it, first person, over and over and over again. The faster and more deeply you live that movie, the faster and stronger those energies begin to grow. Notice how it begins to grow and expands to fill your entire being from the top of your head to the tips of your toes and all points in between. And then it just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger until it becomes so strong, so powerful, it begins to radiate. Radiate. Radiate from your body like the rays of the sun, forming a beautiful colored frame around that new reality movie that you've created. And when you're ready to own it, to personify it, to embody it completely, I want you to reach out with both of your hands, grab that frame and the reality inside of it, lift it up over your head, expand it to fill the infinite universe, pass it through your entire being from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, mind, body, and soul, over and over and over again. And notice what happens to that nasty colored spot that was in that one part of your body, and just keep passing it through until it's completely gone. And then keep doing it until every part of your body is vibrating in perfect harmony with this new vibration, this new frequency, this new energy and reality. Just keep doing it. Now you may notice as you pass through this, you get a little warm. Some people break out in a sweat, some people get tingly, some people laugh, some people yawn, some people cry, some people twitch. Some people just feel waves of emotion coming up. However your body does it, that's just your neurology resetting itself. Keep doing it until it's impossible to go back to the way it was. And when you know that's true, test it. When you realize it's true, test it. Try to go back, and try to bring that old feeling back, try to turn the new feeling off, and notice what happens instead. When you're done, just look up here. What just happened, my friend? It feels different. How many of you are like, right? Uncommon. What the hell just happened? How many got hot? About 50% of the time, you're going to get a thermogenic release. Remember, there is no alchemy without fire. Right? What happened to you, Patty? Whoa.
Yeah, it had just a completely different vibration.
Is that other stuff gone? Listen. Now, try to bring it back. Now, here's how you test that. Try to bring it back. Notice what happens instead. I'll explain this later. But you're going to get 3 basic responses when you ask them to try and bring it back. They're going to try and bring it back, and nothing's going to happen. They can't. They can't bring the old feeling back. They try to bring it back, the new feeling gets stronger. You tell them to bring it back, they look at you, get pissed off, and say, I don't want it back. You're done. You understand? Okay? Now, especially with color breathing, like level 1 color breathing especially, there's a couple of other things that can happen. Salva, let me use you real quick, okay? So, how many people here are familiar with something? Let me get out. Let's not blind you. How many people are familiar with this concept of Russian dolls? You know how you take one doll out and, all right. When your body encodes a trauma, or what I call a holographic memory unit, a container, it places it somewhere in the body, but your body doesn't group things by when they happened. It groups them by what they have in common. This is why when you regress to cause, you don't always get to the initial sensitizing event first. You get a couple other things that are similar. It stores it in the body like that. So when you find a problem, and you ask them what color it is, and you generate the resolution frequency. If the area is like right here, and it's this big, and you wash that area with the frequency, a lot of times, best case scenario, it's gone. But a lot of times they'll go from this big to this big. This is called I call it the Russian doll phenomena. It doesn't mean you failed. It means there's another issue. You cleared the first one. This is a different issue. So you ask them what color this is, what color would dissolve it, and it'll shrink again. And you just keep repeating it until it's completely gone. The other phenomena that can happen, again, notice there's no content involved in this at all. I'm outside the container. I don't need to know a damn thing he's processing, which makes it really good for people who have a lot of sexual abuse, childhood abuse, where there's a lot of shame and trauma. Perfect for this, right? What can also happen is he's got something here, right? And I wash the area with that color, all of a sudden it moves to here. Different issue, just connected. So I wash that color, it moves to here. This is called body mapping. Okay? This follows more, I think this follows more the lines of tension and fascia, right? But again, this is where all your acupuncture meridians run, is in your fascia, right? So you just track it through the area. And that's using a color to dissolve a color, right? And you can keep it super bare bones by saying, okay, what color is it? What color would dissolve it? Fill the room with the color, wrap it around you, breathe that color through the area, and you're going to get one of those phenomena. Okay? That's how you do it. That's color breathing, right? Now, you notice that, thank you, Sal, we'll have a seat. I'm going to pick on you a little bit later. You notice that magic frame is at the apex of the pyramid. Most of you are pretty familiar with energy spinning, yes? How many people are not familiar with energy spinning? Okay. So in energy spinning, I'm opening a bunch of loops here, but I want to teach you the 3 techniques because I want you to spend the next hour doing this to each other. So I want you to make a list of shit you want to fix. And then you get to diagnose and decide which technique is going to fit the bill better. Right? This is your emergency first aid kit anytime, anywhere. You can do this at Starbucks, in a line at Starbucks, because I have. Right? You can do this in an elevator. I had one student do this while driving a car at 70 miles an hour down a highway. Okay? Anytime, anywhere. This almost destroyed my practice because I used to charge by the hour. And I could fix shit in minutes. I had to drastically retool my programs. Anyway, so the magic frame is at the apex of the pyramid. Why? Because if any of those other techniques don't work, it hits a certain level and then it stops, or it goes away and comes back, you're going to have to magic frame it anyway. So why not just start with that? Now, the way you test if it's a magic frame scenario, again, questions. Remember, I keep coming back to questions. Is it okay to get rid of this? Second question. You got to be watching them. Is it okay to get rid of this? Because they're always going to say yes. Is there any... Look for the congruency of it. In other words, if they're going, is it okay to get rid of it? Yes.
Well, the whole fear is good. I want to get rid of it, but I need it. What if it...
Then what do you want instead? Is it okay to change it? Okay? So again, if they have a problem getting rid of something, because some people think they need to have those crappy memories, right? That's why the magic frame is also so important, because the magic frame allows them to preserve the part of those crappy memories that they actually wanted and let everything else go. Because at the current program that they have, it's all or nothing. They don't get to choose. Once you have installed magic frame, they get to choose what to keep and what not to keep, and the system's willing to let it go. See, if the system thinks you're going to make the same dumb, massive mistake again that you've made 3 times in the past, it's not going to let it go. Because it has to keep you safe. Does that make sense? But the moment you extract it, it'll let the rest go. You'll feel the energy just leave the body. 50% of the time or better, you'll break out in a sweat, you'll get hot all over. It's normal, okay? But because these other two, if there's a safety lesson attached, you just preserve that right away. And a good chunk of the time, all you need to do is magic frame it once. And it's gone. You don't have to do anything else. But even if you don't get rid of it 100%, you nuke it with the rest of them. So you start here, and then you can go, and you choose. You go into energy spinning or color breathing. Do you need to magic frame it again? It's like Legos. You understand? And you just link the chain however you need to with these three techniques. Now, to do energy spinning is really simple. You close your eyes, you point to where you feel it. Come on up here, Salva. We'll just do one real quick. You got something you want to get rid of? Okay. Scale of 0 to 10. Scale of 1 to 10. How big is it? 10. Oof. I'm excited. All right. Is it okay to get rid of it? Yeah. Any reason why you might want to keep it? Excellent. I want you to go ahead and point to where you feel that. First impression. That's right. Salvo, I'd like you to notice that there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to this feeling. What color or colors would it be for you? First, black. I want you to notice, I want you to reach and grab all that black energy, take it out and hold it in your hands in front of you. Make sure you get it all, because sometimes that shit hides. You got it all? There it is. I always find more. All there? Excellent. As you look at this color, Savo, did the color change or stay the same, first impression? Same. Notice it's moving, it's spinning in a certain direction. What direction is it spinning? Excellent. I want you to grab it with both of your hands. And I want you to play with the direction it's spinning until you find the exact speed and direction that gives you the exact feeling you want to have at the exact intensity level that you want to have. And then when you find that space, I want you to spin it like a wheel and double the spin. Double the speed. Oh, so you're still training. There you go. Got it? Now double the spin. Double the speed. Double the force. Double the magnitude. Keep doubling it over and over and over again until it takes on a life of its own. Until it's impossible for it to go back the way it was. When you know you've got it, slam it back into that spot. Notice the change. Notice it's gone. Notice as this new program works its way deeper and deeper and deeper into your neurology, any program, any belief, any memory, any experience that's not in harmony with this new set of instructions. Your neurology is going to begin to shed, it's going to begin to purge, like a snake shedding its skin, like old software being uninstalled by newer, better, more powerful software. So there's no need to measure it, manage it, or make it happen faster. Just notice the process taking place. Allow it to install itself completely. And when you know, he's sweating like bullets. When you know it's done, test it. Try to bring the old feeling back. Try to turn the new feeling off. And notice what happens instead. Many times as this new program works its way deeper and deeper and deeper into our system, people go through all kinds of interesting transformations and sensations. Some people break out into sweat like you're doing now. Some people laugh. Some people yawn. Some people cry. Some people twitch. Some people just feel waves of emotion coming up. However you do it, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. It's just your neurology resetting itself. There's no need to measure it, manage it, or make it happen faster. Just notice the process taking place. Allow it to install itself completely, and when you know it's done, test it. Try to bring the old feeling back, try to turn the new feeling off. Notice what happens instead. What do you notice, brother?
It's white.
It's white? Is that a good thing?
White, then it's gone.
And it's gone? Scale of...
It's gone.
Okay. When you're ready, open your eyes. Notice how different you feel. That's a happy camper. Right? Yeah. Of all the different of these three, this is the most fun to watch. Because you'll see people, the best part is you don't have to believe any of this. Nothing I showed you today requires you to believe it. You just got to do it. Right? If you can use your body, use your imagination, point to where you feel it, go with, and trust those 6 dynamics of an unconscious response, all of these techniques will work. Notice I did not say believe it. I had a person in LA. You've all had these people, like you want them to do something, but they don't really want to do it, so they just kind of pretend to go through the motions. It's like, point to where you feel it, What color is it? I don't know. Well, look. It's green. You know these people, right? I had a guy up in LA did exactly that. I had it was like pulling teeth to get him to point to it, make it a color, pull it out. And then I said, okay, now notice it's moving, it's spinning in a certain direction. What direction is it spinning? He's like, I don't know, like this. Okay, great. Make it the opposite of what it was. He goes, what? Just grab it and make it the opposite of what it was. I go, now spin it the opposite way. He said, what? I said, spin it the opposite way. He goes, now here's why we get the body involved. If the body's engaged in the process, it doesn't matter what the neocortex believes. It's just a matter of time. So about 35, 45 seconds into him doing this, he slams it in. I slam my hands over his. I add my energy to his. He just wriggles like a fish on a hook for like 40 seconds. His eyes are rolling, sweat's pouring out of him. And I just hold that space for him. And after about a minute or so, I put my hands on. He goes, "What the fuck just happened?" Because he wasn't there to learn therapy. He was there to learn how to pick up chicks.
Did you say he was going through some tremoring?
Yes. Yeah, they'll shake. You'll watch the eyes frivolate. Yeah. One of the things you'll notice is the body will start to do all kinds of crazy shit. You got to let them know that's what's supposed to happen. Because the body's going to vent it in whatever way is normal. Some people, I had one lady, I was doing a gray room demo. She was 20 minutes after she was out, she was still shaking. And she was, what's going on? I said, it's just your body venting. And we're talking, and all of a sudden it stopped. And she's like, oh, you're magic. No, it's you. Right? So, energy spinning. Someone pass the microphone to Kelly.
So I know we're talking about feelings and events and things like that, but I'm wondering if somebody comes in and you're treating or you're working with them for IBS and you just magic frame or energy spin. You always magic frame because the IBS is a chronic condition. Chronic conditions always have a reason. They always have a reason, and you've got to vent that emotion. So if you ask the right question, you can either completely eliminate it or put a huge dent in it. Okay.
Right? Yeah. Your intestines are one of the most emotional, one of the biggest receptacles of emotion. And so that's why a lot of massage therapists won't work on your abdomen. Because they know they start pressing on your tummy, you're going to freak out. Right? Emotions are coming out. Right? But yeah, IBS, it'll work. You'll either get to do chronic and terminal stuff, because I've done it, you actually have to ask a slightly different question. So in Chinese medicine, we have this phenomenon known as root and branch. Okay? Acute pain, symptoms, symptomology, they're all branches. There's a reason the tumor's there, and there's a feeling connected to that reason. Where in your body does the feeling connected to that reason live? Where is it stored? Okay, I'll just tell you how I discovered this. I was at a training in 2013. I was at an NLP certification at Dr. Richard Bandler's place in Orlando. I was on break, and my good friend James Situ had been telling people about my experiences in China where I discovered how to use this on cancer. And he told this one guy named Gustavo, and I'm just sitting there. It's a 15-minute intermission. Okay, let's understand. I'm in the lobby of, if I were standing outside of this room waiting to get back in. This gentleman comes up and he goes, "Hello, are you Dr. David?" Oh, I wasn't Dr. Are you David? I go, "Yes." He goes, "My name is Gustavo. James Situ says you can cure my cancer." James Situ says, "What?" James Situ says you can cure my cancer. You got to remember, up until I'm a regression therapist. I work with cancer, but it doesn't take, I got 15 minutes. So I'm like, and I got another download. I said, "Point to where you feel it." He goes, "It's prostate cancer." I said, "That's not the problem." He goes, "What?" I said, "That's not the problem. There's a reason that tumor is there. And there's a feeling connected to that reason. Where in your body does that feeling connected to that reason live?" He points at his heart. I said, "Close your eyes and look at it. Notice there's a color connected to that feeling. What's the color? First impression." He goes, it's red. I go, excellent. Reach in, grab all that red energy, take it out and hold it in your hands in front of you. Make sure you get it all, because sometimes it hides. About 90% of the time they find more. Right? He pulls it out and I go, as you look at it, did the color change or stay the same, first impression? He goes, it's the same. I go, excellent. Notice it's moving. It's spinning in a certain direction. What direction is it spinning? He goes, it's going this way. I said, grab it and make it the opposite of what it was. Now double the spin, double the speed, double the, and I'm doing it right along with him. We're dancing in the middle of this freaking lobby, right? Keep doubling it until it takes on a life of its own, until it's impossible for it to go back to the way it was. Key phrase, when you know it's impossible for it to go back to the way it was, slam it back into that spot. He spins and he spins and he spins and he slams it into that spot. And as soon as he slams it, just like you saw me do with Stavo, I slam my hands over his. He goes, oh, because I'm adding my energy to his. I'll explain some of that in a minute. I swiped his conception vessel and his governing vessel, his gallbladder meridians and his triple warmer meridians, and I came back and I added more energy to the system. Do you need to do that? No. It's just something that was part of the download. And I hold him there for like 45 seconds to a minute. He breaks out in this massive sweat. He turns beet red, and his entire personality changed. He lost his anger. He lost his anger. And he goes, oh. And I'm like, bye. Because my seminar was starting. I got to know him a little bit better, but I didn't think much of anything. And then about 3 or 4 weeks after I got home, you guys remember back in the early 2000s, there was this little teacup Pomeranian named Bo, who was like the world's cutest dog or whatever, right? I get this package in the mail. It's this little stuffed Bo. And there's a letter, and it's from Costa Rica. Gus lived in Costa Rica. And he's thanking me for what I did with him in Orlando, and there's all these numbers. This is before I got my doctorate. All these numbers, I didn't understand what the numbers were. And so I called my student Zach, whose mother was a critical care nurse, and I said, what are these numbers in here? He goes, oh, they're tumor markers. His tumor had shrunk by 50%. Can someone pass the microphone?
So you said that IBS, acute, it has always the reason. Isn't it that? Isn't it like everything has its reasons? Like.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you?
Here's how I look at disease. Disease is a metaphor. It's a communication. It's your autonomic nervous system's way of communicating in a way that's going to get your attention because it doesn't have words. But what happens is when certain emotions gravitate to certain organ systems or meridian systems, when that system can't handle the emotions, it's shunted off to its yang organ. So, for example, if I've got a lot of grief and betrayal and trust and loss, and my lungs are weak, my large intestine will volunteer to hold that energy because it's the paired organ. And so that's why you'll get gas or constipation or bloating. They call it chi stagnation. It's all just energetic stagnation. It's really what it is. And if you think about it as stagnation, it gets really easy to fix. But the minute you attach a story to it, like somebody's diagnosed with cancer, the first thing you do is go on the internet and read up everything there is to know on cancer. You just made that tougher to get rid of because you added a story to it. All magic works because we take an energetic unit and attach a story and a geometry to it. It's actually quite cool and makes things a lot understandable. So if you think about it for a moment, the Chinese medical systems, they say that your cells are composed of 5 basic things: heat, light, sound, electricity, and magnetism. Heat, light, sound, electricity, magnetism. If you go to a chiropractor, what are they going to treat you with? Heat, light, energy. You go to a DO, what are they going to treat you with? Heat, light, energy, sound, right? So they train you how to do what these machines do. If you come to vibration, just one second. If you come to vibrational healing, I'll show you how to do sound and vibrate your own organs. It's pretty cool. And then you learn how to project that out of you and vibrate other people's organs. It's really cool. But, all right, go back to your question.
And when we were doing the exercise, there was this question, and when you are sure that it will never come back, for example.
Actually, the word I used, and this is important, when you realize it's impossible to come back, test it. Now, once again, the most powerful language pattern that exists in human beings is the awareness verb category. The awareness verb category. And here's one of the things it can do. The awareness language pattern category allows you to set up automated processes in the minds of the subject. In other words, if I say, realize the truth of what I'm saying, your entire focus of attention goes on finding what's true in my statement to the exclusion of everything else. Right? You can't, and even if you know I'm doing it, you can't stop it. And I don't have to use negations or fancy languaging. It's just a byproduct of how this particular set of patterns interacts with your neurology. So when I use it, when you get the videos, by the way, those of you who scan that QR code, not only am I going to give you the notes for this, I'm also going to give you the video. But I'm only going to send it out to the people in the autoresponder. So if you haven't scanned your QR code, please do so and enter your name and stuff. I may give you some other freebies too. Not so much, because honestly, you don't need them. If you just get the basic steps, point to where you feel it, notice the color, reach in, grab it, take it out, spin it the opposite direction, it'll work. You can do it completely, you can have them just mimic you, and it'll work. So the secret to this is, I'll be right with you, I've got her, and then her, and then her. It's all right. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, because I couldn't do that. I couldn't realize that
Okay.
Is there
What happened is you probably tried to short circuit the process. You probably just take longer.
Okay.
The reason that this works, aside from the linguistic power of it, is it taps into another neurological phenomenon that NLP discovered called a convincer strategy. There is a certain number of repetitions that your brain and your autonomic nervous system have to go through a process before it installs and is accepted. Each of you will do it, you will have a different number of repetitions that has to happen. Now, if I were teaching you to be a neurolinguistic programmer, we would have a 45-minute elicitation process so I could elicit all the parts of your brain that you're using and how many times. But I'm a hypnotist, so I can cheat. All I have to say is keep doing it until it's impossible to go back to the way it was. And when you realize it's true, test it. And you'll cycle as many times as you need to. But what happens a lot of times, especially in a group like this, some people process faster, some people process slower, and they see other people getting done, and all of a sudden they feel pressured to rush through the experience. And they cut the process short. So I understand that if you felt that way, I get it. We're in a group, and I have to keep the group moving. But like for some of this stuff, I take forever. Whereas my students, they're over and done. Right? So,
just the last one. The sixth.
Okay, that's 4. I'm going to start charging.
Free. The sixth one, this. Oh my God, the sixth point, and the time is unlinear. Can you say? Oh.
I'm not sure, but yeah, either your mic is not on or never loud, never linear.
Yes, thank you. So can you say more about that?
I can, but if I do that, we won't
Checkpoint.
get to the actual practice part. Okay? The 6 dynamics of the unconscious mind, for those of you who came late, the unconscious mind always answers first. Always answers honestly. Always feels like you're making it up. You always have an urge to edit what just came up. Never loud, never linear. What does never linear mean? If anybody's ever done regression, go back to the very first scene, situation, or event that is the source, the beginning, the root cause of XYZ problem. They came in for something that happened when they're 35. All of a sudden, they're 5 years old watching their parents argue over money. And the first thing they go is, that can't be right. That's what it means. Many times where the client expects they're going to go is dramatically different than where they end up. Okay? That's all it means. The icky feelings, the naggy feelings are the ones that they're not weak, they're deep, and those are the things you need to clear first. On the same note, how many people have ever come across a client where it comes in with a problem that you know you can fix, but they have this terror that it won't work? And they keep bringing that shit back, right? In case it wasn't obvious, the fear is the worst of the two problems. If you try to take care of the presenting problem and then take care of the fear, they'll bring it back. So you nuke the fear first. So if they've been to 37 therapists and failed every time, they're coming in thinking that it's not going to work. So you don't approach the main problem head on, because that's not really the main problem. The main problem is their fear. Fear is a negative, you'll learn about this tomorrow. Fear is a negative manifestation phenomena. Okay? If they're coming in, Jerry Kind used to talk about the 4 possible attitudes for a hypnosis client to have. Anybody here ever train with Jerry besides me? Oh man. You should go to Omni Hypnosis and buy everything Jerry Kind did. Right? There's 4 possible attitudes a client can take in a hypnosis session. I love these suggestions. I know they're going to work. That's the one we want. But there's 3 others that can completely shoot your session to shit. First one is, I hate those suggestions. They're not going to work. Right? If they hate what you're saying, yeah, you probably got the wrong patient. Right? I don't hate those suggestions. I don't love them. Maybe they'll work. I guess they'll work. Remember, if your unconscious mind isn't emotionally invested in the suggestion, it's not going to work. It's not going to act on the suggestion. The only way to get around that is massive, massive mind-numbing repetition, right? Because the unconscious mind perceives effort through emotion and through repetition. The third one is the one that shoots more well-meaning therapists in the foot, because it sounds so much like the first one. I love those suggestions. I hope they work. Remember, hope is the bastard son of try. Right? We all know trying is lying. But think about the dynamics of the word hope in your mind. Don't we use the word hope when all the odds are against us? Everything is pointing to the fact that something's not going to happen, but there's a tiny chance it might. Right? Well, remember, your unconscious mind is lazy. It sorts for what's familiar. Right? If it's I have 20 years of doing this and a minute and a half of doing this, it's going to do that. And that's what hope does. Right? So eliminate hope from in the context of therapeutics, eliminate hope. Because the conversational dynamics of it sends your person's mind in a different direction. Now trust me, I'm going to give you the theory behind all this, but I want you to have an experience first so you realize you don't need it. You understand what I'm saying? Because once you've had an experience, now this gentleman has all kinds of experiences. Anybody else use this stuff clinically out in the field? I know she has, right? I know this gentleman has. Have you used it before, Thomas? Yeah. Spinning, yeah. Spinning is where everybody starts, but now you add these 2, and now you have anything that comes up you can fix. I know that sounds like a big claim. Don't believe me, go do it. You have 660 plus people out, humans in their natural habitat, all looking to feel good. So you have 2 ways you can do that. You can take away their shit, or find something that makes them feel good and make it even stronger. Because isn't that what the first thing I did with you? See, when you can again, it's all frequency, it's all vibration, but it's all coded. You have the editing deck. So you can turn anything you want into anything you want. It's just sometimes we have somebody to guide us through a process so we don't have to get in our own way. Do we need a potty break? All right, point to where you feel it.
Quick question.
You laugh. This works. Yes, this.
I just have a quick question.
Okay, question here and then question here, and then we'll give you a potty break.
Thank you so much, David. So good. This is really great. I'm a regression therapist. So when you do the work where he released the anger, because anger, I bleed off the anger before you can ever do anything else, right? So that was pretty impressive. What do you do with forgiveness work?
That's a great question. Here's what's weird. You know, if you're trained in regression or pretty much any other form, they tell you that forgiveness is like the cure-all. It's true enough to be true. The problem is most people don't understand what forgiveness really is.
Right.
You've all had this experience. Especially if you're a regression therapist, you regress to cause, and the first thing that pops out of their head is, but I forgave them for that. No, you didn't. Speaking the word doesn't make it true. Forgiveness is a feeling. But here's the problem also. Many people can't get to forgiveness until they've gotten to acceptance.
Or bleeding off the
They're in
anger.
denial. This is where most of your cancers come from. They take an emotional energy and they stuff it and pretend like it didn't happen. And it creates a massive energetic emotional shell that just gets stronger until it actually becomes what we call chi stagnation. Chi stagnation becomes blood stagnation, and now you have a tumor. If you go to a medical Qigong practitioner, they're going to give you special exercises that are going to break you. In other words, they're going to give you exercises that build up the energy in that area until you have an emotional abreaction. It might take weeks. And then they'll start treating you. Because now the armor is gone and they can go in and clean out the stagnation, because before they couldn't get to it. You can't process what's inside the shell. We have an advantage because we can do it in 2 fucking minutes. Point to where you feel it, now make it stronger and stronger. All the way back to the very first scene, situation, or event, and now we can process it, right? This is what makes you better energy workers than most Qigong people. I promise I will give you a break. Energetically, the map of the human body, you have a soul. That's who you truly are. Okay? Understand that. And you're just a light. You're not a male, you're not a female, you're both, you're a light. To exist in this realm, the soul creates a template. This is called your spirit body. In Chinese, they call it the Shen. The realm of the Shen is emotion, thought, and intention. Sound familiar? The Shen pulls in denser elements to create an energy body. That's what Qigong people deal with. Qigong means energy skill. That forms a denser set of elements we call the physical body. That's the map. The only disciplines I have encountered, all of your shit is in your mental body. The source of all your stuff is in your mental or spiritual body, your Shen body. That's why you can go to a pranic healer, or you can go to a Reiki person, or you can go to even DNA theta healing to a certain degree, and they'll go in and they'll clean it out, and later it's back. Why? Because you cleared the energy, not the generator. It's just like you got the branch, you just got another branch, but you didn't get the root. You guys, with this model, you go right to the Shen body. You go right to the spirit. And sometimes, every once in a while, you go right to the soul. How many people here have ever heard of a phenomenon in hypnosis known as the hidden observer? The hidden observer. Every now and then, during a deep trance process, this other part of a person will come out. And it speaks different, and it's calm. And if you ask who it is, what he says, I just observe. Say hello to the soul. Because that's what it does. When it creates the body, it knows everything. It's the divine part of you. It's not bound by time and space. It sees everything, it understands everything. It's affected by none of it. Okay? But it needs a vehicle to exist here. And that's the Shen body, which is the blueprint, which pulls in the energy, which creates your physical form. When you have an emotional experience, it's filed up here, it creates energy to manifest, and then it comes out the physical body. You guys leap right to the top of the deck. When you clear something, a psycho-emotional issue, you dissolve the thing generating the energy, and 99% of the time, especially with these techniques, the symptoms go away. And they go away fast. Why? Energy body, spirit body. It's not an illusion. It's not a hallucination. We all heard of the astral plane, right? Do you ever look at the descriptions of the astral plane? It sounds an awful lot like an imagination, right? When people gesture, they're using their physical hands, their energetic hands, and their spiritual hands to access filing cabinets of information that are in your mental body. Does it make sense? So when you point to where you feel it and you reach out and touch it, Not only are all the divisions, you don't even have to think of this as a spiritual thing. You don't have to think of it as an energy thing. You can think of it as a neurological thing, and it'll still work. That's the beauty of it. Because no matter what disciplines you're pulling from, whether you're a martial artist, an energy worker, a hypnotist, a medical practitioner, an MMA fighter, everything human beings do intersects at the autonomic nervous system. Therefore, all the things subjective and objective that we process must be encoded in a substance and a language the neurology can understand. And when you give your neurology the right instructions, it can do almost anything you ask. I haven't found many things it can't do yet. I'm still exploring. And now I give it to you. Go out into the world and play with this. Point to where you feel it, reach out and touch it, create the connections, work with the system, and find out how you do it. But think of these things, you can think of these things as purely hallucinations like old school NLP did, or you can think of them as fields of vibrational energy being expressed to you in the form of a metaphor. And because you can manipulate the metaphor, you can manipulate the energy and the information in it. Right? Your neurology cannot create a vibrational metaphor that expresses one thing without automatically creating the potential for its opposite. Remember when I was talking about Gus, I said, take it out, notice what direction it's moving? All I did was make him up. I made him just change it to the opposite. Neurology says, oh, I can do that. Now you amplify it until it can't go back, and then you put the program back in the computer. 99.99% of the program was identical. The system said, oh, I can do that. Why? Because he created it. Is it really that? Well, you find out for yourself. When you come back from your break, I want you to get into groups of 3. I want you to write down 3 to 5 things that you want to change. And you're going to guide each other through these processes. You pick your favorite one. You pick the one that comes easiest. You start with that. The secret to learning none of this is to try to learn all of it. So take a training tip from Bruce Lee. Start with what you're good at and make it even better. Make your strengths unstoppable and your weaknesses irrelevant. Right? Start with you're all going to have one that you like, that's your favorite. Start with that and then add the others. There was one more. This lady had a question. Where's her microphone? You thought I forgot you. No, I never forget.
Okay. So my question is about the energy spinning. First question is, you can use that for medical stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Dr. Bill here, Dr. Anapol, he uses this on anything that comes in the critical care unit because it's faster than drugs.
Okay. That's what I thought. Okay, so with that one, you know how at the end, when you like put your hand around on him and use your energy and all that? Well, how do you do that online? Because I'm strictly online.
Oh, I do it all the time. It's really here's what I do. All right, this is kind of weird, but I'm working with someone online and I'm doing the spin with them. So even though their eyes are closed, because its energy is a non-local phenomena, and I have a rapport connection, I'm actually influencing them. If you watch me when I'm working with Savo or when I'm doing, I have a lot of demos of this on YouTube. Every time I bring someone up, I'm doing it right with them because I'm in rapport with this person. Their mirror neurons are picking up what I'm doing. I'm amplifying the energy in my body, and I'm spinning it in the same direction, so I'm actually adding more energy to their system. And then when they go to slam it in, I slam my hands over them, and because the unconscious mind and the neurology is not expecting that strong a jolt, the first thing that happens is, holy shit, something really did happen. It's almost like an instant or shock induction, right? And then you'll just see them just start to process. When I'm doing this on Zoom, I can either just guide them through the process, like I'm standing next to them, but what I'll do sometimes is, if I can, especially if I can get around the monitor, as they slam it in, I will actually do this, and the monitor now represents them, and I'll hold that space, right? All these work wonderfully through Zoom, and that's what's cool. You can deal with some pretty heinous shit. You don't have to be in the room, right? I mean, I I want to keep telling. I'm going to keep telling stories. If I don't, you guys are going to like float home. All right. So it is 4:19. Let's take let's do 10 minutes because I want to get us back and I want to get us practicing.